Morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's student briefing. As always, please make sure you've got your equipment and your knowledge organisers, books out on your desks so your teacher can come round and check them this morning. And actually, this morning's briefing is all around your knowledge organisers because by now you should all have your new knowledge organisers for term 3. And we're going to remind ourselves how we should be using these effectively at home. So please make sure you've got your equipment ready for your teachers to come round and check. And as we look at today's video, I want you to reflect on how you're using your knowledge organisers and how you're using your self-quizzing books. Because remember, as we reminded you before, we shouldn't just be copying out the information. We should be using our knowledge organisers actively. And I'm going to go through with you today one of the most effective ways that we should be using our knowledge organisers and self-quizzing books. So just remind ourselves how to self-test at home. I've already said this morning, we shouldn't just be copying out the information. And one of the most effective ways we should be using our knowledge organisers and self-quizzing books is using this method here, which is called look, cover, write, check, and repeat. So I'm going to model this for you this morning and go through some of the things that you should be doing when using your knowledge organisers and when using your self-quizzing books. So let's remind ourselves about how this method works. First, we have all our equipment out. We've got everything we need, so we're good to go when we look at our knowledge organisers and self-quizzing books as well. The first thing we're going to do is look at the information. We're not going to write anything down. We're going to read through it, we're going to digest it, and try and remember as much as we can. Then we're going to cover it up. We're going to put it out of sight, and we're going to turn it over. Then what we're going to do is we're really going to test ourselves and write down everything that we can remember from looking at our knowledge organisers. Afterwards, you can then check it and add in any extra information that you need to do. So let's have a look at example this morning. Now remember, your knowledge organisers are based on the core knowledge that you need to know. Now this core knowledge will be tested in your knowledge quizzes and in your summative assessments as well. But remember, your teachers have worked really hard to make sure your knowledge organisers include that core knowledge that you need to remember over your 5-year journey at Cowden Court School. So, for example, this morning, we're looking at B1, which is cell biology. Now, you'll come across this in year 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And this will be assessed in your GCSEs. And this knowledge is built upon over that 5-year journey. So, here's my knowledge organiser for cell biology. I'm going to look at this information here, and I'm going to spend some time really looking at those key words and really trying to focus on the key information that I need to know. And whatever works best for me, I'm going to try and organise it in my brain so that when I come down to write it, I can put it into little compartments and make sure I can then start building on that knowledge. So I'm looking through the information. I'm not writing anything down. So as I'm looking at this information, I'm going to think, right, I need to know about cell structure. There are 18 structures that I need to know. I also need to know about their functions, but I also need to look at, do they appear in animal, plant, or bacterial cells? And if I look at my knowledge organiser, I can see that animal and plant cells are eukaryotic cells and bacterial cells are prokaryotic cells. So I'm going to try and remember some of this information. Now, again, remember, this information will be repeated over the weeks. So it's okay at the start of the term if you don't remember all the information, because the whole point of this is to build it into your long-term memory and come back to it as often as you can. I'm really going to focus on that top section today. If I get time, I'll come back to specialised cells maybe next week. So I've taken some time to read through that information. I'm then going to cover it up or turn it over. I'm going to really start now thinking. I've got my blank piece of paper. I'm going to start writing down all the things I can remember from that knowledge organiser. I'm going to think about those different compartments that I could put the different knowledge into. How is it set out on the page? I'm going to start writing it down. So after a while, these are the things that I can remember. I remember there's 18 structures. I've started to write down some keywords. Now, keywords are so important, especially when you come to your summative tests. Remember, they're the application of your knowledge. There is absolutely no reason why everybody can't get 100% on their knowledge quizzes if we use this strategy effectively. But when it comes to summative tests, we need to know this knowledge to base our application on. So it's week 1. I can only remember these things here. But that's good because it's a good foundation. And over the weeks, and as the weeks roll on, you'll start adding on that knowledge. So I get my knowledge organizer back out and I start looking at these here. What did I forget? Did I get anything wrong? So I'm now going to start looking at these things now. I'm going to start adding in any extra information. Remember, your knowledge organisers, some keywords may be put in bold because they are the things that we need to remember. And maybe in a different coloured pen, I'm going to start adding on my annotations. So I know in week 1, this is what I remembered. And as the weeks go forward, I can remember what I knew last week compared to what I knew in the next week. You might want to try it again if you've got time, and that'd be a really effective way. Add it in, turn it over, or read through, then turn it over and add on any extra information. Finally, correct anything you've missed out. Now, this is the test for this term. We will know if you're just copying out that information, because what I'm going to ask your teachers to do is when they come round and check, they're going to cover up your knowledge and they're going to cover up the work in your self-quizzing books for you. And what they're going to do is test you. Because if you can start remembering some of this information, just 2 or 3 people as they go around, we can see if you're using this really effectively. And then we'll do really well in our knowledge quizzes and we'll do really well in our summative tests as well. Hope you found this useful. We look forward to seeing it in action over the next few weeks.